Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from Rao's IAS Study Circle. Join the official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to stay updated and get all the materials on the Telegram. The link to the channel can be found in the description box. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from a UPSC examination perspective. Now today let us take up the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 11th June 2021. The news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So on this note, let's start our today's discussion from our UPSC examination perspective. Now let's take up our first article appearing on page number 7. It says, should retired officials be barred from disclosing information? The restrictions in place must be based on operational calculation. Now this particular article comes as an interview of two former bureaucrats, namely G.K. Pullai, who was the former Home Secretary of India, and Syed Akbaruddin, who was India's permanent representatives to the United Nations. So in this backdrop, they have given their opinion regarding declassifying of official documents. So from our examination perspective, let's try to have a balanced view with respect to declassification of official secrets. And in this regard, two important legislations hold key to this discussion. These legislations are Official Secrets Act 1923 and the Right to Information Act 2005. So we need to understand this particular article from the backdrop of not only these two provisions, but also with respect to Article 19(1)(a), which provides for freedom of speech and expression for all citizens of India, and also with respect to Article 19 Clause 2, which provides for reasonable restrictions on the fundamental right to freedom of speech and expression. Now this topic of Official Secrets Act vis-a-vis Right to Information Act also becomes important because in 2019, UPSC asked a question in GS paper 4. Now the question asked was, there is a view that Official Secrets Act is an obstacle to the implementation of Right to Information Act. Do you agree with the view? Discuss. This question carried 10 marks and had to be written in 150 words. So we understand a clear relation between the Official Secrets Act and Right to Information Act. So let's understand from this backdrop about the discussion which has taken place in this interview, especially regarding the declassifying of documents. So here, first of all, let us understand certain provisions with respect to Official Secrets Act 1923. Now, as the year itself suggests, this particular act was legislated by the British during the colonial rule. Now, the Official Secrets Act 1923 had a predecessor law, namely the Official Secrets Act of 1904, which was enacted during the time of Lord Curzon. Now, the Indian Official Secrets Act of 1904 was an amended and more stringent version of the Indian Official Secrets Act of 1889. Now, this Official Secrets Act of 1889 was brought into effect at a time when a large number of powerful newspapers had emerged in several languages across India and who were publishing news against British imperialism. Fearless editors opposed British policies on a daily basis, and this helped in building political consciousness among the people in India. Now, one of the main purposes for this legislation was to muzzle the voice of nationalist publication. So, over a period of time in 1923, a newer version of Official Secrets Act was notified, which replaced the earlier acts, and this extended to all matters of secrecy and confidentiality in governance in India. So the whole idea behind this colonial legislation was to suppress freedom of expression either through publication, newspaper, magazine, etc. And this Official Secrets Act, even post-independence, has been carried over. So based on this understanding, let us go through the important provisions of Official Secrets Act 1923 and also certain provisions of RTI which provides for or which deals with this aspect of Official Secrets Act. Now regarding Official Secrets Act, it provides for penalty for spying or espionage at prohibited places. Further, it also provides that disclosure of secret information of the government shall also be penalized. And regarding the disclosure of secret information of the government, both the persons who are involved in this disclosure of information will be penalized. That is, the person who communicates such a secret information to the other, and also the person who receives such secret information from the other person. So in this regard, both these persons who communicates the secret information and also the person who receives secret information shall be penalized or shall be guilty under Official Secrets Act of 1923. Now the whole idea of this act is to target officials or civilians who possess secret documents, codes, materials, maps, plans, etc., which has been classified as secret documents according to the government under Official Secrets Act. Now, since this legislation provides for the aspect of prohibited place and any kind of spying or espionage is prohibited. So these prohibited places includes any defense, naval, air force or military establishment declared as prohibited place under Official Secrets Act, any military, telegraph, wireless station or any other important places of communication which the government has declared as prohibited places, any place which is storing munitions of war, sketch, plans, models, etc. and has been declared as a prohibited place, any place declared as prohibited place under Official Secrets Act, any channel of communications by land, water or sea which has been declared as prohibited place under the Official Secrets Act, and any place used for water, gas or electricity work which has been declared as prohibited place under the Official Secrets Act. So these are some of the examples which has been highlighted in the Act with respect to prohibited place. So going through the provision, we understand that any revealing of secret information which has been declared under Official Secret Act and any spying or espionage at prohibited place shall be guilty and punishable. However, the aspect of RTI also comes into effect here, as there are certain provisions regarding Official Secrets Act provided or mentioned in the Right to Information Act. Let's go through those provisions and then again we shall try to go back to the question asked by UPSC in 2019. Now, first and foremost, Section 22 of the RTI Act has an overriding effect on Official Secrets Act, as the section says that the provisions of this Act, that is RTI, shall have effect notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith contained in the Official Secrets Act. So clearly, RTI shall have an overriding effect over Official Secrets Act as per Section 22 of the RTI. Further, Section 24 of RTI mandates that every security and intelligence organization shall disclose information on corruption and human rights violation. And lastly, Section 8 Clause 2 of RTI Act compels the government to disclose information. It says that if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to the protected interest, then in such scenario, such official documents can be revealed under RTI. Now we know that Section 8 provides for exemption from disclosure of information under RTI with respect to certain institution or organization. However, Section 8 Clause 2 acts as an exception. It says that notwithstanding anything in the Official Secrets Act, that is irrespective of anything provided in the Official Secrets Act, nor any of the exemptions permissible in accordance with subsection 1, that is this particular section, a public authority may allow access to information if public interest in disclosure of such information outweighs the harm to the protected interest. That is, if in disclosing such important information, it works more in the interest of public, then in such cases, such secret documents which has been classified as secret under Official Secret Act can be declassified or can be revealed under RTI. So these are some of the important informations provided under RTI with respect to Official Secrets Act. So clearly, if certain information which is in public interest and disclosure of such information outweighs the harm to protected interest, then in such cases, very clearly the RTI Act has said that such information can be revealed under RTI. Now this observation regarding RTI vis-a-vis OSA was also observed by the Supreme Court while going through the Rafale judgment. So in this particular question asked by UPSC in 2019, these were the exact aspects which you could have mentioned in this particular answer. So I'm going through the question again. It says that there is a view that Official Secrets Act is an obstacle to the implementation of Right to Information Act. Do you agree with the view? Discuss. So here you could have stated that yes, Official Secrets Act provides for certain secret information to be protected. However, certain provisions of RTI do provide for their disclosure if public interest outweighs the harm with respect to the interest of those protected under Official Secrets Act. So after understanding the backdrop to OSA and RTI, let us again come back to this article. It states that last week the Government of India prohibited retired officials of security and intelligence organizations from publishing anything about their work or organization without prior clearance from the head of the organization. Serving civil servants are barred from expressing their personal opinion on policy matters and criticizing the government. but once they retire, many of them take part in public debates and enrich public discourse through their important conversations. So based on this understanding of this particular article, I have highlighted certain reasons for tighter norms which the government has come up with regarding the official documents or secret documents, and also concerns which has been highlighted in this discussion. So the first reason for tighter norms highlights that some measure of secrecy is necessary to protect authorized national security activities such as intelligence gathering, military operations, and even sometimes confidentiality of deliberations and sometimes personal privacy. Another reason for concern is regarding leak or disclosure of such information, which has an overall impact on existing intelligence security operations. So these can be considered to be in national interest. However, one of the concerns expressed by the bureaucrat is regarding subjective interpretation of the word sensitive, as there are certain information which can be said to be sensitive pertaining to national security, but classifying a document as sensitive is again subject to interpretation of different people. So it highlights that recent announcement of the government makes the restriction lifelong and the word sensitive is left open to subjective interpretation. So here the bureaucrats have argued that there can be a reasonable restriction with respect to sensitive information and there can be a time limit with respect to such restrictions. Another concern highlighted by the bureaucrats is regarding declassification of secret information. Now here the bureaucrats have highlighted that the practice of declassification of files, like which happens in the United States, does not exist in India. As in United States, files beyond 30 years are declassified. However, such a practice is not followed in India. So here the bureaucrats have highlighted examples of Henderson-Brooks report on 1962 conflict between India and China. So the argument says that such a document can be declassified as it is a very old document, almost 60 years old. And declassifying the documents will give the public a greater understanding about the historical disputes between India and China. Another example highlighted here is regarding the Justice Mukherjee report on declassifying files for Subhash Chandra Bose. Further, the bureaucrats have said that there is a practice of over-classification of documents at times, which in fact requires no classification at all. For example, messages sent to Indian officials at United Nations during elections, as such informations are easily available in the age of social media. So the bureaucrats have highlighted that in India there is also a practice of over-classification of documents which is actually not needed. Now regarding the reason for tighter norms, it highlights that the national policy security challenges are dynamic in nature and we cannot have a stable security policy, and it is very difficult to achieve at circumstances with respect to national security, friendly relations among states or even international relations keeps on changing and are very dynamic in nature. And it is in this backdrop that important documents of the past, for example the Henderson-Brooks report, should not be declassified. As this is also because the border conflict between India and China has been an ongoing issue since 1962, carrying on even in present times. So this is also another side of the story regarding a solid reason for tighter norms with respect to secrecy of such important official documents. Now there is another viewpoint which is highlighted in this interview. It says that no rights to freedom of expression can be absolute, and certain information pertaining to secret official documents having implications on national security will always be restricted in certain contexts. Now here this view of the bureaucrat must be understood through the provision of Article 19 Clause 2. As Article 19 Clause 2 provide for a reasonable restriction with respect to freedom of speech and expression. And this reasonable restriction can be imposed by the government on grounds of or in the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offense. So these are the grounds under which government can impose reasonable restrictions with respect to freedom of speech and expression. So after understanding these two solid grounds with respect to reason for tighter norms, let us also go through some of the concerns highlighted in this interview. So while addressing the importance of reasonable restriction, the bureaucrats have also stated that past policies can be revealed by the government. So it says that apart from the aspects of national security, issues of general administration, governance issues, policy issues, etc., and opinions of important personalities can be revealed by former bureaucrats as they provide a hindsight into the working of implementation of such policies and programs. Now another point highlighted by the bureaucrat is regarding increasing presence of social media. He says that in the age of social media and internet, the idea of declassification of files needs an overlook by the government. Now this is because even though the government wants to keep certain files as secret, these information or at least a part of it is at times revealed through social media. So overall what we can take up from this particular interview is that we need to have a balanced approach between Article 19(1)(a), that is freedom of speech and expression, and with respect to preserving national security. So the bureaucrats have stated that Article 19(1)(a) allows freedom of speech and expression to every citizen of the country to freely express their understandings, views, opinions, differences on important matters. However, revealing of certain issues which hamper national security must be avoided. Hence, we need a balanced approach where revealing of information is important according to Article 19(1)(a), but certain information which has impact on national security and which are bound under Article 19 Clause 2 should not be revealed. Now this topic becomes important both from a prelims and mains perspective. In the prelims, this topic gets covered under Indian polity and governance and also under rights issues. Whereas in your mains, questions can be asked in GS paper 2 or in GS paper 4. Now in GS paper 2, questions can be asked with respect to government policies and interventions and also with respect to transparency and accountability, important aspect of governance, transparency and accountability and institutional and other measures. And in GS paper 4, questions can be asked with respect to probity in governance, especially regarding information sharing and transparency in government, right to information, codes of ethics and codes of conduct. Thus, with this understanding of right to information and also with respect to Official Secrets Act, let's take up our next article for discussion. Now let's take up this next article appearing on page number 7. It says, Making Peace with Nature. A decade of protecting and reviving the ecosystem will help India in various ways. So this article highlights the importance of restoration of ecosystem of the world. And in this regard, this article says that zoonotic pathogens are transmitted at a more increasing rate to animals and humans, and this can have a deadly consequence, especially with respect to species loss and also exploitation of nature, and also with respect to degradation of natural areas. Now this increased transmission of zoonotic pathogens among animals and humans has led to increase in public health emergencies in the last few years. So it is here where the article mentions that for healthy people to live in this planet, there is need for a healthier ecosystem on the planet. And it is here where the article says that human civilization needs to have a healthy respect for the wild spaces. So before going into the discussion, let us first of all understand about an ecosystem. So the ecosystem can be visualized as a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. So living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. It further says that ecosystem varies greatly in size from a small pond to a larger forest or a sea. Many ecologists regard that the entire biosphere as a global ecosystem, as a composite of all local ecosystems on Earth. Now since the Earth is too big, so it is convenient to divide the ecosystem into two basic categories, namely the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem. So forest, grassland and desert can be said to be some of the examples of terrestrial ecosystem, whereas examples of aquatic ecosystems include pond, lake, wetland, river and estuary. It further mentions about man-made ecosystems, where it highlights an example of crop fields and also aquarium. It highlights that crop fields and aquarium can also be considered as a man-made ecosystem. So it is in this regard this article says that there is a need for a healthier ecosystem and humans need to have a healthy respect for the wild species. So considering the degradation of the ecosystem, this article says that there is a need for change in land cultivation techniques around the world, use of soil and water, and also exploitation of marine and coastal ecosystems. So all these needs to be done in a balanced manner so that we are not exploiting the earth more than what it can recover. And it is in this regard the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration becomes important. Now ecosystem restoration means recovery of ecosystem which has been either degraded or destroyed, and it also includes the aspect of conservation of ecosystem which are still intact. So it is here where the United Nations Environment Programme and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations have come up with UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, as it aims to prevent, halt, and also reverse the degradation of the ecosystem of the entire continents and that of the entire oceans in the world. Now, here the article suggests that India should also participate in this UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, as it will help in ending poverty, combating climate change, and also prevention of mass extinction of important species of the world. As we have seen that all these species together comprises the ecosystem. So based on this understanding of UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, the article highlights that India needs to restore its ecosystem by transforming energy systems, basically from fossil fuels to renewable energy, increasing energy use efficiency. Now, energy use efficiency means improving the efficiency of an appliance, that is, the appliance start using less energy. For example, LED lights, star rating of electrical appliances. Now, here star rating of electrical appliances also becomes important, as the greater the star rating in an appliances, the lesser is the energy consumption. So a fridge which has a 5-star rating consumes less energy as compared to a fridge which has 3-star rating. Now, based on our understanding, let's take up this question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2016. The question was, in which of the following can you find the Bureau of Energy Efficiency star label? Options were, first, ceiling fans, second, electric geysers, and third, tubular fluorescent lamps. Question was, select the correct answer using the code given below. In this, the correct answer was D, that is 1, 2, and 3. Now, other aspects to restore ecosystem is with respect to land use. Here the article mentions about reducing deforestation and desertification. Now, here examples of RED and RED Plus becomes important to understand. Now, RED Plus is a climate change mitigation solution being developed by parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is UNFCCC. And RED Plus incentivizes developing countries to keep their forests standing by offering results-based payments for action to reduce or remove forest carbon emissions. Whereas United Nations RED program assists countries to develop the capacities needed to meet the UNFCCC's RED Plus requirements so that they can qualify to receive results-based payments under the convention. And this program functions under UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Program, and Food and Agricultural Organization. Now, based on this, let us take up this particular question asked by UPSC in 2016 prelims. The question was, which of the following statements are correct? Proper design and effective implementation of UN RED Plus program can significantly contribute to. Options were A, protection of biodiversity, B, resilience of forest ecosystems, and C, poverty reduction. Now, all these aspects have been discussed earlier. So, here the correct answer becomes D, that is 1, 2, and 3. Next, this article talks about agriculture. Now, here it mentions about climate appropriate cropping. Now, this means that cropping patterns should be based on soil and water requirement of a particular area. And here, growing rice in the northwestern region of India, especially in Punjab and Haryana, can be said to be a climate inappropriate agricultural practice. So the government needs to come up with an idea for climate appropriate cropping, which is beneficial both for the farmers and also for the people. Now, next it mentions about urban development. Here it talks about climate smart cities. Now, climate smart cities takes into account the following aspects, namely energy and green buildings, urban planning, green cover and biodiversity, mobility and air quality, water management, and also waste management. So here it highlights that such cities are responsible for climate sensitive development of their urban areas. While they are a significant contributor to climate change, they are also particularly vulnerable to consequences of such climate change. And to facilitate cities in understanding these challenges, the idea of climate smart cities assessment framework having 28 diverse indicators across 5 categories have been framed. So these are the 5 categories framed under the Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. It further says that this assessment framework is a step to adopt, implement, and disseminate the best practices adopted by our cities and further set standards in comparison to the international efforts towards green, sustainable, and resilient urban habitats. So it is based on these understandings, this article mentions about implementing the climate smart cities in India, which will take into account the efficient urban transport as well as the aspect of water and waste management. And it is in this regard, this article also mentions about using appropriate greening in public infrastructure. Further, in order to restore ecosystem, Government of India must simultaneously focus on two aspects. First, to conserve and restore biodiversity, and second, to minimize air and water pollution and waste. Next, the article mentions about the aspect of green financing. Here the article says that India needs to transform economic, financial and production system towards sustainability, and this can be achieved by including natural capital in decision making. Now here natural capital accounting denotes the process of calculating and valuating the total physical stocks and flows of environmental goods and services in a given geographical space or an area. And this can be done by mandating the gross environment product, just like the gross domestic product. So under the aspect of gross environment product, it intends to valuate total physical stocks with respect to environment and flow of environmental goods and services. And both these aspects will be taken care into while calculating the gross environment product. It next talks about eliminating environmentally harmful subsidies, such as subsidies which are provided to electricity, as well as subsidies provided to water pumps, especially in water stressed regions, as all these subsidies are harmful to the environment and also to the ecology. Further, it mentions about investing in low carbon and nature friendly technologies, such as investing in electrical vehicles and also electrical mobility, and also by making such investment into environmental aspects more financially attractive. And this has been suggested that this shift the financial flows and investment patterns towards sustainability, as investing more into greener technologies slowly helps in shifting the financial flows and investment patterns towards sustainable model. So this is where the aspect of green financing becomes important. And lastly, the article mentions about the importance of individuals as citizens of India. So here the article says that the power to revive our environment also lies with us individuals, that is we the people. And here the article highlights that all the individuals of this country must work towards creating food systems which work with nature, which reduce waste and are adaptive to change and resilient to shocks. Individuals must empower small-scale farmers and women farmers. There also needs to work towards changing patterns of consumption behavior among individuals. There is a need to challenge social norms and business practices, as we have already discussed the aspect of green financing, and all these aspects can be achieved through capacity building and educating the public about the importance of restoration of ecosystem. Thus, this article becomes important both from our prelims and mains point of view, as we have seen that UPSC has asked questions in the past related to this particular article. Now, based on our understanding about this article, this topic becomes important both from our prelims and mains point of view. In the prelims, this topic gets covered under general issues on environmental ecology, biodiversity and climate change. And in the mains, question can be asked under GS paper 3, especially regarding conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and also environmental impact assessment. So with the discussion of this article, let's move on to our next article. The next news to be taken up appears on page number 5. It says, CHIME telescope yields unprecedented results. Scientific collaboration detects more than 500 mysterious fast radio bursts in its first year of operation. So this news highlights about CHIME, that is the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment. And this Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, or CHIME, has recorded fast radio bursts. Now these bursts of fast radio bursts are coming from far beyond our Milky Way galaxy. And it is also believed that some of these fast radio bursts are coming from magnetars also beyond our galaxy. Now these magnetars are crushed cores which are left behind when a massive star explodes, and because of this have a strong magnetic field. Now the magnetic field of these magnetars are 1,000 times stronger than neutron star, and these magnetic fields are so strong that they can distort shapes of atoms and can also obliterate objects thousands of miles away, and obviously they store enormous amounts of energy. However, there can be other sources of fast radio burst as well. Now these fast radio bursts exist for a very short span of time, namely for milliseconds, and hence it is difficult to detect, and secondly also very difficult to locate their exact location in the universe. However, it has been observed that these fast radio bursts are coming from way beyond our Milky Way galaxy. So from your examination perspective, especially with respect to science and technology, you need to know about CHIME and also about the fast radio burst. So this is the location of this CHIME telescope. This telescope is located in Canada. So it highlights that the CHIME telescope is located at the Dominion Radio Astrophysical Observatory, which is a national facility for astronomy operated by the National Research Council of Canada. Now, two important aspects about this radio telescope is that it has a large field of view and it covers a broad frequency coverage range, which is roughly around 400 to 800 megahertz. Now, the digitized signals collected by CHIME will be processed to form a three-dimensional map of hydrogen density, and this map will help to measure the expansion history of our universe. Now, the CHIME telescope will map the history of the expansion rate of the universe by observing hydrogen gas in distant galaxies, which were strongly affected by dark energy. Now, regarding dark energy, this can be said to be a mysterious form of energy or a mysterious force which is accelerating the expansion rate of the universe, especially after the Big Bang. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to the CHIME telescope which you need to know with respect to your UPSC prelims and mains examination, as questions regarding fast radio burst and also about the important role played by CHIME telescope can be asked in your UPSC prelims examination. This question on CHIME telescope can be asked in your prelims examination under the aspect of general science, and in the mains question can be framed under GS paper 3, especially with respect to developments under science and technology and also with respect to application and effects in everyday life. So with this, let's take up another 3 articles which can be seen from the perspective of Prelims Pointer. Now the news for first Prelim Pointer appears on page number 4. It says Tiger Reserve Union calls off strike, and this news is mentioning about the Pakke Tiger Reserve in Arunachal Pradesh. So in this regard, you need to know not only about the Tiger Reserve of Arunachal Pradesh, but also important tiger reserves surrounding the northeast region. So first of all, let us go through the details of Pakke Tiger Reserve. So it highlights that it is located in East Kameeng district of Arunachal Pradesh, and this is contiguous with Naweed Tiger Reserve. Further, the forest around the Pakke Tiger Reserves harbors 4 hornbill species. These 4 hornbill species are great hornbills, red hornbills, oriental pied hornbills, and the rufous-necked hornbills. Further, another important aspect is that the great hornbill has been declared as the state bird of Arunachal Pradesh. Now, another important aspect highlighted here is that the Pakke river lies to the east of the tiger reserve, so this becomes the Pakke river for us, and the Bhareli river lies to the west and north, so this becomes the Bhareli river, and this location is with respect to the Pakke Tiger Reserve. Now, as you can see in this map, the tiger reserves in the northeast are Namdafa, Pakke, Nameri, Kaziranga, Manas, Dampa, and even Baksa. Now, based on this understanding, let us take up this particular prelims question asked in the year 2012. The question was, consider the following protected areas. Options are first Bandipur, second Bhitarkanika, third Manas, and fourth Sundarbans. So the question was, which of the above are declared tiger reserves? So from this particular map, we can definitely highlight Sundarban and also Manas. And from this particular map, we can highlight definitely the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. However, Bhitarkanika is not a declared tiger reserve and it is a national park. So here the correct answer would be 1, 3 and 4. So accordingly, the correct answer here becomes B. So we understand that these locations of tiger reserves can be asked in your prelims examination. So since Pakke Tiger Reserve has been in news for the last few days, so you need to know about the location and also the importance of Pakke Tiger Reserve. Now with this, let's take up the second prelims pointer for discussion. The next news for prelim pointers appear on page number 6 in the editorial section. It says terror in the Sahel. Global powers should not stay away from the growing threat posed by Islamists in Africa. So in this news, you need to know about the Sahel region, especially from the perspective of world geography regarding world map, as questions has been asked in the past regarding world map or location of places which has been in news in the past. So this news highlights about the Sahel region and growing threats due to four main terror outfits in this region. These are Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, Islamic State West Africa Province, Jamaatul Nasrul Islam and Boko Haram. Now from your geography perspective, you need to know about the location of this Sahel region. Now this Sahel region is primarily a transition zone with respect to arid Sahara Desert in the north and humid savannas in the south. So this transition zone, namely the Sahel region, is a semi-arid region in the western and north central Africa. And the countries in the Sahel region includes Mauritania, Mali, Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Sudan and even Eritrea. Now here this editorial also mentions that United Nations along with global powers needs to help the Sahel countries with respect to capacity building in these countries, setting up institutions to provide stable governance mechanism and also to adopt sustainable counter-insurgency strategies. Hence you must go through this particular news, especially from your prelims perspective regarding the location of the Sahel region. The last news to be discussed as a prelims pointer appears on page number 11. It says, Biden and Johnson seeks to sign the new Atlantic Charter. So in this news, you need to know about the old Atlantic Charter and also about the new Atlantic Charter. Now this new Atlantic Charter signals a special relationship against the backdrop of political differences between United States and United Kingdom. So in this regard, both President of United States Biden and UK Prime Minister Johnson inspected documents of the old Atlantic Charter which was signed between United States President Roosevelt and the Prime Minister of Britain Churchill in August 1941 during the Second World War. Now some of the important highlights of the Atlantic Charter of August 1941 were a promise for free trade for all the countries of the world, disarmament and also right to self-determination of colonies. So Atlantic Charter is cited as a cornerstone of transatlantic special relationship between United States and United Kingdom. And it is also considered that signing of Atlantic Charter led to the formation of NATO and United Nations. Now the old Atlantic Charter, which was signed during the Second World War, included 8 common principles. Some of these principles were both US and UK would seek territorial gains from the war. Both the countries would support the restoration of self-government to those nations who had lost during the Second World War, and people should have the right to choose their own form of government. So in a way, Atlantic Charter also strengthened the resolve of Indian national freedom movement. Further, the Atlantic Charter was not a formal treaty, and the allied nations agreed to the principles of the Atlantic Charter, thereby establishing common purpose. Thus, Atlantic Charter can be considered to be a significant step towards the formation of United Nations and even North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is NATO. So this news must be seen from the perspective of international relations and also from the perspective of world history, especially regarding Atlantic Charter, as questions in your prelims or even mains can be asked with respect to Atlantic Charter. So with this discussion, let's move to the question for the day. Now based on our discussion, this becomes your practice question for the day. The question is, consider the following pairs of tiger reserves and their corresponding states. Options are, first, Namdapha Tiger Reserve, state is Assam. Second, Orang Tiger Reserve, the state is Arunachal Pradesh. Third, Dampa Tiger Reserve and the state is Mizoram. So the question is, which of the pairs given above is are correctly matched? Options are A, 1 only, B, 1 and 2 only, C, 3 only and D, 2 and 3. Now coming to the answer of yesterday, the question was, consider the following statements. Central Adoption Resource Authority, a statutory body under Ministry of Women and Child Development, is the nodal body for child adoption matters in India. Yes, this is correct. Second, Juvenile Justice Act 2015 is the only legislation for child adoption matters in India. No, this is incorrect, as there are other legislation like Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act of 1956. So the question was, which of the statements given above is are correct? So the correct answer is A, that is 1 only. So with this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.